Welcome to Small Talk, where each week we sit down to discuss the sermon-based small group questions at Wallula Christian Church.
Hello, and welcome back to Small Talk, Wallula's weekly podcast. My name is Zach Bowen, student pastor here at Wallula Christian Church, joined by Craig Archer, worship pastor, and Lance Kaufman, lead pastor. We are glad that you're with us today. We are continuing on in our series, Be Real, as we go through the book of James. And today we're going to be looking at Lance's sermon from last week, Real Faith, as we're looking at the idea of the faith and deeds section. And so we're going to be breaking that down a little bit as we go on, but we're going to start off with the fun question, the question that makes you think. And this week, it goes like this. What technology or device could you live without or not live without? So just whatever you want, however you want to answer this, but is there some form of technology that is that you do use? Because you can't say like, would you say you asked this to Haley? Like, what's something you couldn't live without? And she's like, I don't know, a tanning bed or something. It's like
something she's never used.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I can live without that. Yeah, no. It has to be a piece of technology that you're using that you're like, I could, even though I use it all the time, I could live without this. Mm-hmm. Or what's something that's so essential, you're like, I could never. I don't know. However you want to interpret that. Craig, what did you put? It is super open-ended.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking through all of these possibilities and scenarios, and recently, last Christmas, I was gifted a 1-year subscription to Christianity Today magazine, mm-hmm. and so I've enjoyed reading that. And the latest issue was all about AI and, how does it affect faith and just people being people, and it made me think of this question, and I thought, maybe we would be better off without AI. Because we've used it. It's mm-hmm. fun. We made the little figurine.
That's how you wrote your last sermon.
Exactly. That's how I came up with the answers for this podcast. It took me 2 minutes. No, but yeah, there's really fun things about it.
Yeah. The
little figurines we made.
That we did, yeah.
It's kind of fun to figure out the prompts and things you can put in there. Mm-hmm. But I was reading all of these articles in this magazine. And it wasn't like doomsday talk or anything, but it's just people are using it for very basic tasks and to formulate things that it's getting in the way of creativity mm-hmm. or just becoming a better writer because mm-hmm. you're not proofreading or editing your things anymore. Mm-hmm. And
you just write out and be like, make this sound good.
Yeah, exactly.
Copy and paste it.
And so, I was talking to Haley about this question at lunch, and I was like, I should be proud. I finished college without AI. Because that's just...
Because you didn't have any other choice.
Yeah, exactly.
I should be proud. You didn't make that decision.
That, I hear that now. Students just running to AI uh-huh. for so many things where it's people just have been doing that.
Yeah.
And I just, I think I would be okay without AI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's my answer.
Do you think you would have not used AI if you were in college?
Oh, well, that would have been a huge temptation.
He didn't really answer. He said temptation.
Yeah, it would be.
Did you catch that?
Who knows?
That's my favorite.
We don't know. We don't know.
That's my favorite.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who's to say?
Shout out Zoe.
Is she using AI? Is that what you're saying?
No, she always says that. Who's to say?
She likes to say, who's to say?
That's her little tagline.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Zoe is pretty adamant against the AI. She gets upset about all kinds of things when people use AI.
Well, as a future teacher, I'm sure she already has strong opinions about it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that was, Haley's brother was an English teacher,
mm-hmm.
high school English teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And the past year, he was just kind of
these kids are amazing now. They're so good.
No, he's I can tell.
Yeah.
I know you.
Yeah.
You're not writing any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just getting crazy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that
rough.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It is fun though. I mean, just to bring it back down again. It was good. My mom's 70th birthday was this past back in June, and so they're like, Zach, make some games because I'm a youth pastor. So I was like, okay. So then I'm like, I need some games. Like, what are some get to know you or trivia questions for someone turning 70? And it gave them to me. And like, do you want them to be more fun or more serious? I was like, oh, make it more fun. And I said, but also make them open ended, not specific date really, And so it let me kind of, what am I trying to say? Anyway, formulate them into like the style that I didn't even know I wanted. I'm like, I do want them more fun and open ended. And I was like, give me 20 of them. And they're like, all right, here's some more. So anyway.
See, that's just a extended Google search.
Yeah.
That
People do use it as in like a Google kind of way.
I don't. Nobody gets upset if search for youth group games or whatever. I can't imagine, but yeah, that's different.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the technology that you could live without or not. Anyway, I put. Okay, the hard part was when you say technology, we all normally think like cell phone. That's a technology, but really technology is
right. We talked about indoor plumbing.
Yeah, as a form of technology.
Right?
Yeah,
that's
it's like
technology.
How far are we going with this question?
Right.
What could I not live without? So I thought like my car. I'm like, dude, I really need that. Even if I don't have a phone, just to get around, And then I was thinking like, okay, I could live without my TV. Right, that's a big one. Or my Apple Watch,
for sure,
AirPods, all this stuff. But then I'm like, but I'm not saying my phone, which has TV on it. You know what I mean? Like, I could do without TV as long as I could still watch here. And so then it's like, if I say I can live without TV, am I also saying on the phone like all forms of Netflix or you know what I mean? Because it's just a cheat code. It's just it's a loophole there. So I'm like, anyway, and I could live without that kind of stuff, like the entertainment videos or whatever. But so I put all that stuff. I put the thing I can't live without. I still think my phone. I mean, I can if I had to. Everyone could, but
you're right.
It really is like Trevor was talking to him earlier, and he had mentioned like, well, maybe you could have asked the question, which technology helps you with ministry, and which one is more of a detriment or gets in the way. And I said, I think it's my phone for both. Like my phone is a huge asset to connecting with students and parents, and even when I'm trying to find their house, like I have their addresses, I can look it up in Google Maps, but it's also a distraction, So it goes both ways, but.
I remember the first youth group trip we were on when students in the youth group had a cell phone, because that all came about basically when.
Did you have strong opinions back then about it?
No, it was so new, really so new. Like I didn't own a cell phone, and so the church bought a cell phone, a bag phone.
Oh wow!
To take on youth group trips. But that was, even then, kind of old technology at that point. But they wanted, these were all new things pretty much to people. And so they chose this bag phone. But so I remember the first trip, or one of the first trips, when students had cell phones. And we were kind of lost. We were trying to find the right exit to go, wherever, and we were a little bit lost, and one of the girls in the back of the bus, back of the van, called their parent.
Okay, you said they had Google Maps. I was like, wow.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, these were flip phones.
But they called the parents to be like, to get help or to rat on you.
Kind of both, sort of thing. I'm like, hey, no, don't be talking to parents. We're not really. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get out of this. We're not in trouble. But anyway, so that was my first. I remember that phones. It's so weird that you get used to them. Do you remember, Craig? You're kind of because I'm assuming, Zach. I shouldn't assume this.
You should.
Like do you remember a time when you were an adult?
Yeah.
Without a cell phone.
I didn't have it. I was
in college. You didn't have a cell phone.
I actually was working here, And my dad said, "You need to get a." I was living at home after college, working here, and he's like, "You need a phone." And I'm like, "I don't want one. It's going to be." I see how people are already all crazy about it. I'm like, I like that I don't have one.
So like in 2005.
Yeah.
That time
4
frame.
or 5 is when I got my phone.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw more and more people getting them, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to do this. I'm good. And I was like, I don't need people to get a hold of me at any
Right,
time.
right.
Because that's all it was for. It wasn't a smourphone.
Yeah.
It was like the Razor.
Right. So what about you, Craig? As an adult, do you remember not having a cell phone?
No, because my first cell phone, I think, was my senior year of high school.
Okay.
Was it a smartphone?
No.
Okay.
I didn't have a smartphone until like 3rd or 4th year of college, I think.
Yeah.
I had like one of those slide kind of flip phone sort of
yeah.
things.
Interesting.
Yep.
But that's a difference too when you're talking about like, oh yeah,
Right.
students in the youth group had phones, and then it's like then they have smartphones, and it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's a world of difference.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I've had a few times when regular phone, smartphone, like I've had instances where like
Yeah.
they'll call home and been like,
now like third graders have phones.
right, yeah.
you know, it's-
Actually, the pushback I get, because like at camp, they don't, even with high school camp, at Saokamo, they don't allow phones.
Okay.
So you could bring a phone, but then they lock them up. And they're like, just blanket statement, which I like.
Yeah.
And it just frees the kids up to be like, okay, what are we going to do now? But well, there was a point to that. I forget what the point was.
We're off track. Zoe
yeah.
Zoe at camp this summer as an adult, she was not supposed to have her phone during the week of camp.
Even at like when she went back to her dorm
Yeah,
or
they
whatever.
were supposed to turn them in.
Whoa.
For
And how did that go?
Well,
She draws a line at AI. She already told you that's
Sometimes.
where her stance is with technology.
sometimes she didn't turn it in. She was like, "I didn't turn this in." So I'm like, "You're a huge rebel."
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, you're on the staff.
there were some things that were just a little different
Yeah.
about that experience, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
very cool.
I could live without my phone. That's my official answer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's you can't just say everything. Like, well, then what about this or this or this? But like, I thought phone and computer were the two big ones. But then it's like if you don't have one, you got the other. So like, your iPad or your desktop, you know. Would you say, well, you say I can live without my phone because I still have this? I can get text messages through this. I can.
No, like I could not text another person.
If texting
You
was
could do without that.
obsolete,
Yeah.
Yeah. If that went away,
Lance is
I,
gonna
Yeah.
shrug his
I could
shoulders
be
and
okay.
move
That should have been
along.
like, what apps do people use all the time?
there
to
are
do
things about that phone, like I'm not good at directions.
Oh yeah,
and
yes.
and so I'm a big map proponent.
I
Like
am
I
too.
punch that in, and somehow I survived without that the rest of my life, and so I'm confident I could.
Yeah.
But I am not too proud to say I don't. I punch in that places I've been. Like the Royals game. Coming home from the Royals game, punch in home, make sure you get to the highway.
Yeah, just getting out of there.
Yeah.
Totally.
So there are things about that come in really handy, but yeah, text messaging. I mean, that's handy, but I could live without that.
Yeah. What is the one where you can track each other? Live 360? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can live without that.
Yeah.
My family loves that, but
Yeah. They could not.
yeah,
So.
yeah, I don't know if Sherry could, but yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. We are looking at James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26, as James is talking about faith and deeds and how they connect. And we're going to start off by looking at question number 3. It's a hypothetical, and it says, suppose a Christian says, Jesus forgives all my sins, past, present, and future. What I do or don't do makes no difference at all because I'm already saved. So this whole deeds thing, it doesn't matter because I'm already saved. So what do you think James would say to that person? How would James address this argument
Yeah.
from...
You don't need AI because
That's right.
I know, I was about to say...
it's in the passage.
Yeah. Do you want to just quote it?
Yeah, this
or?
is what he says.
He'd
is
say,
what he says.
"Quit it."
Wag your
Yeah.
finger.
Stop it.
Wag your finger while you say it.
Yeah.
That's the tone that you.
Right.
What do you think, Craig?
Yeah. Well, we basically said it. It's in the passage.
Yeah.
He'd be shutting that down real quick, and in it, well, I told you this, I think, before it was recording. I accidentally brought up my scripture journal for Ephesians.
For Ephesians, yeah.
Because I carry these
So you're
around.
fooling everyone. That's not real.
One, I guess, downfall of these is you pick up one of them, and it could be the wrong
and
one.
they all look the same.
That's right. You do have to read it. That's true.
So I have been reading Ephesians. And it made me think of some of the things that Paul says too in many of his letters. But I was reading Ephesians 5, where he's so serious about imitating Christ, and he's talking about our walk, our just daily life, and he starts to mention some specific sins, and then he says, "Don't even talk about them." Like that's how serious we should be about getting rid of sin in our life. And so I read this hypothetical quote that's kind of like, well, I'm forgiven, so kind of shrug your shoulders at it. And it's pretty safe to say that the people that wrote down these words would have a different take on, we should shrug our shoulders about it.
Right.
And so I was reading this commentary on Ephesians and really like this quote that I read that kind of lines up with this. It says, "Our new relationship to God was rooted in Christ's sacrificial death. It's also an insult to his work not to pursue the life he died to provide. His example of loving and giving should be followed." And so this commentator was talking about living as a member of God's kingdom. He's building up this spiritual house, and it's like an insult to the builder to not live as a member in that house and contribute to it. And there was this illustration of like someone builds a house for you, and then you like set up a tent outside of it, and you just live outside of it. It's kind of like, well, why? The house is right there, and it's like structurally sound. Like, why don't you want to live in that? And that's what it's getting at, is like, to be a member of God's kingdom, you're on the receiving end of forgiveness of sins. And so to live in response to that, to live as a member of the kingdom and not just kind of be like, well, that's for other people to worry about. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
it I don't know why, but it struck me as funny when you're like, I brought up Ephesians, so let me just try to go from here. I was reading Ephesians 5. I was like, you could have gone downstairs and grabbed the James one if you wanted to. And he's like, no. I found a commentary about Ephesians 2. Let me read it.
Very handy. If only we had a book that included
all of them,
right? That's
If we could just turn the camera around and show them how many Bibles there are within 2 steps of you in the high school youth room. There's one that's already open right over there. You could have.
I wonder what page that's on.
I mean, it's close to James already. Like the high schoolers did not clean up this room. What would James say? So, I mean, I literally was like, okay, well, what did he say? And it's like, you believe in God, good, so do the demons. And it's like, you say you have faith without deeds. And he says, show me your faith by what you do. So the person who's claiming, well, I have faith, it's a personal thing. James would just be very blunt. And it's not even, he just says, you should have deeds. He actually also gives scenarios where people said, no, I'm good. It's like if you're telling someone to, go be warm and well fed and not doing anything for their needs, it's dead. It's a dead faith. That doesn't count. You can't just say you believe. You have to. There should be evidence of it. But one of the things that we didn't talk about was the question after this was about question number 4, talking about like what would Jesus say in this situation? Because it's interesting. I think you mentioned in your sermon this week about the controversy that surrounded James back in the. I don't know how long ago, but the early church fathers, some of them were considering like, should we keep this or not? And sort of the controversy of like saying you have to have deeds to be saved, and this is super controversial. However,
isn't there someone famous that like ripped this part out of their Bible?
I think people say that about Luther.
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Because he thought, and I thought it was specifically the faith and deeds part because of that.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, it doesn't seem controversial to us now, but like, if you take it too far, it's like, oh no, you're not saved unless you do good deeds. But also he's not reinventing the wheel. Jesus himself, if you think about faith requires action. He says, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing. So there's an action. In John 13, he says, everyone will know you are my disciples if you love one another. So there's an action. You're my disciples if you do this, if you show love. In Matthew 5, he says, let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and praise your Father in heaven. And so Jesus, James was not like coming up with some crazy idea. Jesus over and over was pointing to this idea of, I am the vine, you're the branches. There's going to be fruit if you were a Christian. And so, I think James would be, Jesus is very encouraging in his teaching here. James is just like, stop doing this. Stop claiming that you are, a Christian because of this. But the last thing I was going to say is I just think also, because this is not a crazy thing for people to think or believe, like, oh, I'm a Christian, but it's a personal thing. It's just something I keep to myself. Don't push your religion or don't whatever. And it's a dangerous, dangerous road to go down. To live in a way where we're treating faith like it's only personal, it's only something that's done on Sunday mornings, and we don't let it impact or change us. It's just a really dangerous way to live your life.
Yeah. I think you guys are right. Obviously, James has this view that I think he gets from Jesus. I mean, we talked a little bit about Matthew 25 and, Jesus telling folks, well, some people are going to cry out my name and they're not going to be in heaven. They're not going to be saved because they didn't do any of this stuff. They didn't help where they could. They didn't feed the hungry or clothe the naked, that sort of thing. Take care of the least of these. And so those ideas all through Jesus' teaching, and I think James is just repeating those. Really this idea of faith and works is still something people struggle with a little bit, and there are different views that theologians have about how to make sense of passages like James and passages where Paul talks about you're saved by faith and alone and that sort of thing. And so we didn't have time on Sunday to go over all these, but just kind of, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 major views on this. The first one would be like the sovereign grace view. And this idea is that, God is absolutely sovereign, but to the point where everything is a result, nothing is a result of human decision making, that everything, even to the point of saving faith, is instituted and brought about by God. So there's no decision making really in the individual in this. If God doesn't predestine you or call you or give you that idea that hey, I need this grace in my life, then it's not going to happen. And so in that view, there's kind of no works at all, right? Because everything is driven by God. Everything is because of the sovereignty of God. Then you have sort of the other side of that, I suppose, to one degree or another, is the faith alone view, and that idea is that the faith, salvation comes about at faith, kind of this intellectual acknowledgement of this list of facts, and then everything else is works, right? And so there's sort of this separation of these two things, faith and works. And I don't think that's what you read in James chapter 2. You have to read that into what James is saying. You kind of have to come to that the second chapter of James with the idea that faith is completely separate from works, and then you're in trouble with James chapter 2, because you get, you have to do this stuff in order to be saved. There's the comprehensive view, which just includes things like repentance and obedience, all wraps that all up into faith. So it's just the idea that all this stuff goes together, that you can't have faith without obedience. And I like that a little better, but I don't think that's exactly what the New Testament teaches. You get faith and works, that view, where, it takes both of them, and I think that's closer to where we're at in James chapter 2, but still not quite there. right? There, and so finally, you know, we talked about last week that, or Sunday, that I really like this statement that we're saved by grace through faith in baptism for good works, right? That these works are a result of our relationship with Jesus. To say that our salvation is dependent on those works, I think, is a step too far, right? But James uses it more as like, this is proof that you have this relationship. And there are always the what abouts, right? Well, what about the thief on the cross? You know, and this is one of my favorites. Well, what about him? Well, what about him? You know, did he go to heaven? Well, Jesus said he did, right? He also died. You know, he didn't have a chance to be baptized. He didn't have a chance to, you know, to work in the soup kitchen or whatever. He didn't have a chance to do any of those things. You know, and so
you don't want to base the rest of your life's theology based off the guy on the side of Jesus,
right? Yeah,
as opposed to just Jesus,
right? Yeah. And so if he's leaving us here, right? If he doesn't save us and take us, if he leaves us here, well, I have to figure he's leaving us here for a purpose, a mission, a reason, and that reason are these good works, is this ministry that we can have in our life, and service to others and sharing his love with others, and whatever that looks like and however that works out in each one of our lives. And you know, so I just would be really careful with this idea that where James says, stop saying this, stop doing this, you know, start, this faith is just dead. You know, is it faith? I suppose. Is it a living faith or a saving faith? You know, James says no. And, you know, I would just, if that's like you said, Zach, if you're, well, my faith is just personal to me and I'm never going to share that or in any way, you know, I'm never going to live that out in some way in my life. You really have to think that through and consider what your relationship with Jesus is all about and what it looks like, and you know, those things. So I think that's what James would say. He says it better than me, but
as we move on, we're looking at question number 10, and it says, how would the world be different if every Christian demonstrated authentic faith as James describes it? So another hypothetical, just as we think about what if everyone who claims to follow Jesus was doing this, where their faith and works were perfectly lived out, you know, and if we were getting this right, you know, like James wants us to, how would that look in your world, Craig? How do you picture that?
We kind of laughed this morning when we were talking about it, because Lance just said, well, that's heaven. Yeah. Which is, that's absolutely what that will be like. That's the picture of this being played out perfectly. And it reminds me of, we all have that desire for, some people will say, like, getting back to the garden, or like being able to experience Jesus' return and heaven, new earth. Like, we all have that desire within us. And as followers of Christ, for sure, I think people we all have that. Sometimes we, like, if we're not following Jesus or don't know him, we might not know what to do with that desire in our lives. But I was just thinking about how this could play out. Like, James has a specific scenario or example of what that looks like. And it made me think of the Lord's Prayer when we say, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Right. Which is like this prayer of, like, if Jesus returns, like, absolutely, let's go. We want to be in his presence. But in the meantime, we have the tension of the already not yet, where we do get to experience the indwelling of the Holy Spirit and knowing Jesus and being able to pray, have that relationship as we await his return, and experiencing being in his presence. But in the meantime, like we just said, like, there's work to be done as being a member of his kingdom. And so I just, like, I just said, this is such an open-ended thing. It's like, how do you describe even like this, what it would look like for everyone to embody this? And I just started writing down this list, and then it's kind of like, okay, how long can I go? Just because like I just thought of like meeting needs and serving one another, showing forgiveness and kindness and compassion, mercy towards other people, pursuing righteousness, being a peacemaker, exuding joy and encouragement to those around us. Like this list, I was just kind of like, you could just go on and on, what it looks like to imitate Christ around you. And it made me think of this past year, I read Dallas Willard for the first time, his book Divine Conspiracy. And going into it, I didn't know, but it's basically like, it just walks you through the Sermon on the Mount. And one of the things he said kind of struck me with, do you have your WWJD bracelet on? Yeah, see, like the what would Jesus do question gets us close to how we could answer this if we were to play that out in our lives. But he took that statement in that book and just kind of twisted it to make it more personal and said, like, put Jesus into your life. Okay, so what would Jesus do as a worship pastor at Wallula Christian Church? What would Jesus do as the father to these kids? And so it kind of puts that question into your context, gives a little more like detail of what that would look like. And I liked kind of that little thought experiment of like, oh yeah, how would my leadership look different, or being a father? And it kind of made me think of this question of like, if we were to demonstrate our faith in the world and like really go after it, and we see everyone doing that, it'd be kind of like asking that question, what would Jesus do in my personal scenario? Right. And then we're all just engaging in that. So I like that thought experiment that he had in that book. So maybe that's, I don't know, a little launching point for us to think about.
Yeah, that'll be the next intro question.
I'm still thinking about Jesus as worship pastor.
There you go. Yeah.
At
What would
Wallula
he
Christian
wear?
Church.
What would he wear?
Would he still be as stylish, or?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What songs would he sing? What instrument? Maybe he wouldn't play an instrument.
Maybe not.
I'm just thinking about the worship songs because they're about him anyway. So it's like it's weird him singing songs about himself.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is none like me.
It's tough for your job security.
Yeah.
If you can get Jesus, you know, that's rough.
One time, this is a side note, just made me think of it.
Yeah.
In college, I was playing drums on a worship team, and during the welcome, it was often the worship pastor that would do like the welcome announcement thing, kind of like we do. Yeah. And he was known for stumbling over his words often, and we kind of just like, people are kind of like, oh, we kind of laugh about it. But one time he accidentally said, "We're so glad you're here to worship us today."
Instead of with us.
Yeah, and he didn't even catch it. And like later we told him, and it was just kind of one of those moments like, oh, what did I just do? But just made me think of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for worshiping.
I don't know if you're about to say add something to that.
No,
okay.
No, I better not. It's just a weird thought. Anyway, yeah. So, all right. What if everybody did that?
Yeah. I was thinking, you know, when you think about it, because at first it seems like, well, it'd be like heaven, it'd be, you know, real amazing. And then I was thinking, just to get to where we are right now, it's pretty amazing that Christianity has grown to the numbers that we're at right now. You know, the biggest religion, you know, and the numbers that we have. And we did it without authentic faith. Like every church has people who are committed. Let me rephrase that. We did it with authentic faith. But if you look at like, we're the biggest religion, whatever in the world, but then how many, but like anyone who's in the church is like, well,
not everybody's got it all together.
Yeah. How many people are claiming it versus, like that
Right.
James would be talking to in the church. Like
Sure.
even now people are going to church and he's like, hey, stop doing this. And so out of that number, like it's a small concentrated number that God was still able to work through.
Right.
So then I was like, yeah, but what if we took that whole number and then made them all like living authentically? Like it started to just, I was like, man, that's crazy to think about. Like, because we've grown this much just with the smaller inner whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
With the hypocrisy, with the church splits, with everything else, it still has grown because of the faithfulness of those who are taking this seriously. So if everyone lived this way, I started to just stumble over like, man, the type of impact that would make, that if someone was following Jesus, they were actually living it out. And kind of like you did, you started making a list. I just thought of the impact that would be made, because I know you said, oh, well, that'd be heaven. But at the same time, we're living in a fallen world. So there's still sin all around us. And so, but those who are following Jesus are living out their faith. And so just the tangible impact, that's what my mind started to race to, like, what would this world be like?
Right.
And so just meeting the needs of people. So needs met, and I think about the marginalized. So, the orphans and widows, the poor, like the impact that would be made on that. Not that no one would be poor, but the needs that could be met within those who are poor, the prisoners, the refugee, we would see it easily. I mean, we see it, and the thing is, we already see it. Like when you have communities that have churches, the amount of impact that the local church brings to wherever it is, no matter how small the church, there are people who are serving. And so when you have multiple churches, and you do a good job about every week talking about ways for people to get involved, but the things, the handful of ministries that we help out with Third Thursday and the Shelter of Hope and the Women's Center, and that's just us. And so imagine if everyone at Wallula was participating in that. And then we would have too many people for just those. Like we would probably need more ministries to help, and we would come up with like, well, then what else could we do? We have these people who want to serve and can't. And so anyway, and then your mind just starts going. But I just think the tangible example that we would see in this world would just grow. I mean, exponentially, I think we could see a difference being made.
Yeah. Well, I sort of took a kind of a warped walk with this question, I guess, because my mind went to, right now there's a lot of debate and conversation about Christian nationalism, right? And I'm not a Christian nationalist because, as far as I understand that idea, because I don't want there to be a state religion, right? I don't want it to be illegal for somebody to choose to
practice something else,
or what have you. But when you kind of play that out, well, do you want your leaders in government to be followers of Jesus? Yeah, and I want them to make their decisions based on what Jesus would do. What Scripture says. And you start to play that out. If everybody was living, we used an old stat on Sunday. And from a book I had on my shelf, I can't believe that if we took a survey like 2025, August 26th or whatever it is, right, today, that 90% of Americans would say they believe in God.
Yeah.
But it'd be high. It would be a high percentage. That I believe in God. And we would have to have a conversation about who he is and what that means to that person and all those things. But if that percentage of people was really following after Jesus, right? If the percentage, because the percentage of churchgoers in the United States would be much lower than that, right? But if 100% of people who show up on a Sunday morning at a Bible-believing, Jesus-following church would live like James says to live, by putting others first, by loving your neighbor. If we all did that all the time, you're right, Zach. I mean, the impact the church has made throughout the centuries is enormous. It can't be undervalued or understated, really. It's amazing. And that's all through flawed people and flawed leadership. You're absolutely right. What if, you hear those kinds of things? I mean, there's old kind of sayings and percentages that are thrown out that are probably kind of roughly true. 20% of the people in a church do 80% of the work, right? 80% of the ministry. You hear stuff like that. I don't know if that's exactly true. They'll say the same thing about tithing, or physical resources. 20% of the people give 80% of the tithes and offerings or whatever, and I don't know if that's exactly true or not. But what if? What kind of impact could the church make? And I just think, you're right, Zach. We would have to, we could certainly expand, the ministries that we provide and care for the needy. I use that term Christian nationalism only because, you think about, we need the government, or we wish the government would, or how come the government can't, or if we don't elect the right people, the government won't. And if the church was the church, absolutely. If we really loved our neighbor, and I don't, just if everyone who claimed to be a follower of Jesus, I'm not trying to pound on, you got to go do more, or whatever. But if everybody who claimed to follow Jesus really lived like this, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter what the government did. I just absolutely believe that. It just who cares? Yeah. Because those needs would be met. And I don't know. You said earlier, Zach, there would still be poverty. Well, probably, until Jesus returns, probably. But man, how big an impact could we make? Yeah.
I think I heard someone, I don't know if it was Ryan Agnew but someone was talking about stats within foster care. And I think they said, if you look at the number of churches in the U.S., if every church just had one family to foster a child, you would take care of the foster care program or problems. Like the number of children in foster care right now and the number of churches, you just need one family from each church. Now this is big churches and small churches, so it's counting a lot, but if just every church just did a little bit and everyone was doing it, man, it's not like we're asking every Christian to do all these things, but just if everyone upped it, you would see a huge difference because of how big the church is. And so you start seeing these things being taken care of. Well, very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We're glad that you were with us today, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.